Rachel knows how to get things done. She has been in the trenches, dealing with unspoken conversations, barriers to teams, goals, and success, and figuring out how to achieve seemingly impossible goals demanded by executive leadership. As she rose through the ranks of the global satellite mission, from an intern to a satellite scientist to operational science officer, she managed big projects, united stakeholders, guided teams through change, and led complex and groundbreaking achievements. Rachel is also a TEDx speaker and has spoken on stage in front of over 12,000 people. She is also a Forbes Coach Council contributor. Sorry, it's flipping all around for me. Contributor and serves on the Council of Trustees of South Dakota State University. She is a Mensa PhD. Sorry, it does not like me today. Scientist, a certified project management professional, a global citizen, a choir singer, and an art patroness. So let's give it up for Dr. Rachel Headley.
Might as well come up there. I need to turn
I'm
on.
just Meg. I have really cool red shoes.
Okay.
Right, good.
That's my kind.
She has an equally impressive resume. Here, can you turn me on, baby? Excuse us for a
Not in
minute.
front of these people.
Excuse us. We're really business partners. We tell people we're not life partners all the time. Thank you. That's exhausting to hear, actually, all that stuff.
Yeah, tell me about it. I was with you.
I'd like to introduce, I'm Dr. Rachel Headley. I'd like to introduce Meg Mankey. She's my business partner. We started Rose Group together, and she was able to come down. We used to do things together all the time, but we're so busy now that we're off in different directions on planes going to different places, so it's kind of exciting, even though we get 6 minutes to be together. So what we decided since she was here, we're gonna share the stage a little bit, and so we're gonna flip back and forth. I'm gonna introduce myself. You've heard all of that, exhausting things. But what the fun part about the entrepreneurial journey is, which is about what 1 Million Cups is all about, is that it might seem strange to people not me, and not Meg now, since you've heard it 1,000 times, to go from a PhD geographer to now the CEO of a consultancy, business consultancy is what Rose Group really is. But what we do, in geography, what I used to do is I used to look across a big problem, and I used to research and investigate all the pieces and parts of that problem to get the root cause understanding and the bigger picture of what was going on. And frankly, we do the same thing in business today. So as I worked up through my career in aerospace, I jumped ship after I got a chance to stand at the top of a rocket, and 2 days before it launched in 2013. And I thought, that might be the coolest thing I ever do in this job. And I didn't want to work in a job that I thought was always not as cool as that moment. And frankly, I've been doing that job for about 8 years as the operational science officer. So I decided to resign. Plus, I knew who was going to get the job. So when that spacecraft launched and there was an on-orbit checkout after 90 days, I knew that there's going to have to be a reorganization of everybody, right? Because now that development is going to go into ops, which is what I was doing. And I knew that I didn't want to live through that reorganization. It just wasn't in me. So I decided to resign and focus on other stuff. And I was a normal aerospace consultant for a while. But what I really got frustrated with was I would go into a place and we'd get all excited and we'd have all these great ideas, and 3 months later I'd call them and they didn't do it because something came up and it just didn't work out. And I was like, waste my time, waste your time, waste everyone's money. And so I got really a lot more interested in how do we actually affect change and make it a real impact in the clients that we work for. So that's when I met Meg.
And now I'm going to talk. So my name is Meg Mankey. I'm the CEO of Rose Group International. I grew up on a ranch outside of Belfouche. Spent all of my formative years mostly horseback. I'm pretty super handy. And then I thought, well, I don't really just want to be handy for the rest of my life. I'd like to actually do something with my brain. Plus, I don't know if all of you did live through and survive. Actually, the winter we just had, well, you get to do that actually all outside when you ranch. And that's not my bag of worms. So I decided to pack up my things and go to college and got a couple of degrees, and then worked in let's see, transportation, hospitality, insurance, and mining. So I was the HR manager at a gold mine. And if you think, you know, everybody's like, oh my gosh, can't believe you work with a bunch of miners. That must be really hard. I'm like, well, you clearly haven't ever branded with a bunch of ranchers, because miners are a cup of tea. So anyway, did that for a while, and I got kind of frustrated with the way the bureaucracy of corporations make life hard for people who are actually making the impact on their business, making sure that the dirt turns into gold, or you know, that the miles turn into money in the transportation industry. And that's when I met Rachel, and I said, I say we commiserate. Rachel is exuberantly positive all of the time. This is why we work well together, because I typically land on the other end of the spectrum. So I say we commiserate about how you know, poorly businesses are run. And we thought, well, we're both pretty smart. We can probably fix this problem. So we did. We created a solution in our IX leadership, and all of our created a solution with our IX leadership. We threw it in a book with the help of a really great book writer. If any of you are trying to write a book, Michelle Stampy is your gal. Promise you, she will not let you down.
This is new since I talked last time.
Yeah. So that came out in October 2018. We did the book launch. And so now really our real goal when we started all this was to impact the world, the business world particularly, in a way that makes life better for everyone. And so we do that in a couple of ways, and Rachel will now tell you about one of the ways.
Yeah, so in the world of entrepreneurs, we talk a lot about B2B and B2C. I'm going to mention a few things about our B2B side, and then Meg's going to share the other side of our business. So our B2B side is we work with other corporations in a couple different ways. Our verticals that we focus most on is mergers and acquisitions and manufacturing. And actually there's a lot of overlap in those things. But manufacturing, we work a lot with executive alignment. We have frontline supervisor training. And really what that's about is more accountability training, which translates a little bit into leadership. We have a leadership book, but we don't call ourselves a leadership company. And as the entrepreneurs in the room, just a little story about that, is that there's so many people doing leadership work that have never actually done leadership in an actual business. It's really hard to cut through all of that noise and say, no, we're real leadership people, you know, because everyone's saying that. And so we've been really careful to not position ourselves as a leadership company, because frankly, leadership training as it exists today doesn't really solve problems. It's a lot of self-reflection, which is very valuable. But when you go into a room with this many people, there's, I don't know, 25 people here, if I know what each one of yours Myers-Briggs is, or DISC is, or whatever it might be, that's really insightful if I'm working with Leah one-on-one. But if we get 25 of us in the room, that kind of information breaks down very quickly. And I don't know that someone over here is going to not work well with someone over here, not because they don't like each other, but because they have a different view of the world. And so what we decided was, this creates so much anxiety and stress for people. I used to have a job where I'd walk all the way around the building so I wouldn't have to walk in front of one person's desk. You ever had those jobs? That's why we're all entrepreneurs, right? But so how do we solve that problem? Because you know that woman in that desk didn't really not like me. Not really. We just didn't know that. Well, I'm pretty sure. I'm likable. We have this disagreement that I think everyone is well-intentioned, and makes like no way. There's really truly bad actors in the world. But we have different words for it, but we're on the internet, so we won't say the bad words. Yeah. So anyway, so what we did in our IX framework is we said, you know, if you focus on your people and making your people, understanding your people and how they interact and how they want to work, that's going to change everything. So whether you have accountability issues, if you have customer service problems, if you have bottom line productivity, all of the problems that we all want to solve as business owners, and frankly, from tiny businesses to huge corporations, be more profitable, take care of your people first, and then they take care of your business, because they're the ones doing it. And so that's how we work with corporations. And M&A, we like to get in there early and do cultural due diligence, which means we go and we assess the cultures of the two companies before they get put together, so that we can say, okay, this is going to be a problem, this is going to be really a high need area, and those sorts of things. And then in the manufacturing side, we tend to do more corporate alignment and frontline supervisor training. But we do things like corporate retreats, we do executive coaching, we do all the things in a way that serves our client whatever they need the most.
So then we decided that this is a really good way to build our business through our consultancy and our B2B. But we thought, if we really want to impact the world, we have to figure out a way to scale this product so that it can reach more people, not just executive groups, not just frontline supervisors in one organization, because after all, we are amazing, but there are only 2 of us, so we can only be in a certain amount of places a year at once. And we decided we didn't necessarily want to start our scaling by hiring a bunch of people to work for us and then go out and do consulting on our behalf. We wanted to help enrich people's lives and their business cultures directly. And so we created an online learning system, and we also created a certification program. So we have IXAF. I know what you think that stands for. In my mind, it does stand for that. The actual acronym for the public is IX, Internal Experience Ambassador, that's the A, Facilitator. So if you get IXAF certified, you're awesome first. And then also you have an opportunity to use all of our culture typing and Kurt's change transition model and all the good stuff that's in here to go do your own culture typing with organizations. So you can either provide that as a service, or you can just have it for if you're an internal change maker, or what we're starting to hear the word is intrapreneur. And so that's how we're really scaling and getting the word out there to business communities globally, is getting an IX certification for individuals. And so those are our 2 main business models and how we've kind of organically grown into what is now IX Leadership and Rose Group International.
Monique Stevens with South Dakota State University. Have you used this technique with the educational colleges versus businesses at all?
Well,
I guess SDCEO.
yeah,
That's
not
kind of
traditionally university education systems. We haven't really chased them as an opportunity, frankly. We have worked in over 17 different verticals though, so there's no reason to think that it wouldn't work. One of the interesting things about higher education is if you think about most educators, and I am a PhD, so I get these people. Total nerd, pointy head. They go to college longer than anyone else. They stay in school longer than anyone else. And then they actually get a job in school. So they've actually never worked or been outside of that environment, a lot of those folks. And so what we say is those people tend to be very order tolerant, so they don't like change. And so one of the big challenges we see at universities is that when there is a big change, they don't really know how to deal with it or how to, and the leadership doesn't really understand how to roll it out very well. And so whenever there's a big change in a university particularly, there's a lot of resistance and anxiety and stress. And that creates a lot of bad feelings, a lot of morale issues. They already get, at least in South Dakota, they already don't get paid as well as counterparts. And so there's a lot that builds and builds and builds over time. And frankly, then it becomes kind of a dysfunctional workplace. And so a lot of that kind of anxiety is driven by change. And so I would love to work at universities. Interestingly, Steve Urbanbach at the SDSU Foundation has bought our book for everybody in his team, and we're working with some of his people on possibly getting their AG certification. So in that sense, there's some interest, but that isn't the university providers. Other questions? Otherwise, we'll just talk more about ourselves. We're good at that.
Deanna Becket, character coach. Is that on?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about more about your certification. I mean, the time frame, who is ideal, maybe cost share.
Sure.
Yeah, our IXAF certification rolls out once a month, and it's an 8-week program. And so there are 7 phone calls in those 8 weeks. The 8th week is graduation week, and it's not like college graduation where you don't actually do anything. You're mostly just drinking the whole time.
I mean, that's an option.
It is an option, and we won't know, because actually a lot of it outside of the 7 phone calls is virtual. So there's a virtual component where you're learning things online through our learning management system. Then you have the phone calls, then you have a capstone project where you go culture type a group of at least 10 people, and then come back and tell us what your results are, what your analysis is of that, and then we'll say, well, you're going to be awesome at this, here's your certificate, or, oh my god, no way, you're not ready to represent IXAF, and give you some more homework. But anyway, at the end of 8 weeks, you graduate. Our cohorts range from 5 to 15 people. And the cost is $5,000. And then you do continuing education year after year to make sure that you have any kind of new information that we have to share. And then that's it, you're certified. And the tie back to us is always just obviously good-natured connection. And then if you want a culture type group of people, you pay per person to have them culture typed. We whip up all the results and then send it back to you, and then you can go deliver that to your team, whether it's internal to your organization or someone that you're consulting yourself.
And the benefit, the cool part about IXAF is it's a framework to understand people. And understand how people work, what motivates them, what makes them anxious, what makes them engaged, how you actually affect transformation. If you're a coach, practitioner, consultant, understanding, like, if you walk into a room and you think, and you're trying to help somebody change or implement something new, and all you're getting is a lot of, oh, I forgot to do it, or, oops, I guess we'll have to postpone our meeting and all that. We help you understand why that happens, how to overcome that. Or if you got change people that are sprinting forward and you're like, wait, you didn't even really think about this, and you're already running down the road, we can help understand that. So it's really, you can either do IXAF as a leadership training tool, or you can use it to integrate into what you're already doing and do it better, because you understand people and how they're motivated and how they make decisions better.
Yeah, and a lot of the individual consultants or entrepreneurs that we train have a customer service component use the information to understand their client better. So you might have a client as a real estate agent. I'm just using this as an example because it's one I use a lot, but as a real estate agent, you might have someone who's like, oh, that's not really the color of tile I wanted in my master bathroom. Or, I really like the tile, but that grout is just, I just don't know. Sandstone's not really my thing. And you're like, what in the hell? Do you know how hard I worked to find this perfect house for you? You don't like the color of the grout? Right? Or you have someone like me who's like, hey, I kind of think I want to live in this neighborhood, in this community, make sure there's only one set of stairs, and I want my washer and dryer somewhere near my bedroom. Yeah, and then you can show me 5 properties and I'll say, this one will be fine. So it really helps independent consultants or anybody who has a sales component in their business to understand their client and help them speak to them in a way that makes sense for their brain as they're processing the experience, so that you can actually get them to make purchasing decisions more quickly and more accurately for them.
And frankly, it sets up your mind so that you know what you're in for. So if you have a client who's going to look at the grout color, then you know, okay, this person's not actually going to buy anything for 9 months. And then you have other people like Meg who's ready to buy it, and she doesn't really care what color it is, and she's going to buy it tomorrow. And if you don't call her back today, you're going to lose her. And so those are the 2 kinds of different, clearly extremes, but that's really, if you can understand your clients that way, it's a gift to yourself too, let me just say, because then you're not frustrated as hell when things don't work.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Oh wait, you gotta wait for the mic, I hear.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Colleen Brady, Freedom Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm wondering about the book. Is it kind of an outline of here's what we do, or is it an outline of how we do what we do? How would it be practical to someone who isn't going to jump into the big certification program?
Yeah, actually, the interesting thing about the book, we didn't really intend this to happen, is it's actually a description of what the framework is, but so it's really applicable for anybody in any role. But the funny thing is when you look in that book, it doesn't actually say how we use it and how we grow our business. It's really a handbook for anybody to understand the framework. So that's really full of tools and insights, but it's not really a recipe book for how we would roll it out in a company. And so it's actually great because that way it's really distinct from like the certification program. So we have people, I got a really nice compliment last week from a gentleman who's been doing change transformation for almost 40 years. And he said that it was the most practical change approach he's ever read in his whole change career. And we really take that with pride because we've done the leadership thing. Meg loves theory in leadership. She has a degree in leadership, strategic leadership. And that makes me, I'm much more practical and process oriented. Like I want to know, give me something I can actually walk out with and do and make my life better. And so, but Meg is super practical also. And so we really made this book so that you could actually use it. It's not about the theory. The theory's all behind it, and it's all based in theory, but we didn't want to put another theory book out. We want to put a book out you could actually use. So that's really, it's much more practical than most. So I think you'd really find it useful, interesting. It's actually just came on an audiobook too. So.
It did. You get to hear us, more of us.
Oh, man.
5 hours and 29 minutes.
We read it, and it's kind of freaky to hear your voice after the guy says, by Audible, or whatever.
This book is brought to you by Audible.
And then it's our voice. It's like,
Yeah.
what is happening? It's freaky. It's kind of cool. You can too. Okay, other questions?
I'm Leah with Nsight Partners. I have a question for you. If you have a client reach out to you and they say, I don't want the culture types, I want blah, 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 can you still work with them or do they have to do the assessment in order to do the next step?
We're really convincing, so at some point or another we'll get you to do the culture types. But no, we can work with people on basic. A lot of times people don't call us and say, "Hey, we really want to know what the culture type is of our whole organization." No, because that's not what their problem is. They call and say,
someday they're going to do that. Not yet. Not yet.
They think about what their problem is. Hey, listen, I've got a line that keeps breaking, and the people don't. My people on the floor don't know how to fix it. Their supervisor doesn't know how to hold them accountable. I have an accountability issue. Well, to us, that wraps up into something different as a root cause. But for them, their pain is, my line is not running because my supervisor doesn't know how to hold people accountable. So we say, sure, we can address accountability, and here's how we do it. We always start with the culture types because that gives you a roadmap to understand the dynamics of your team. And so if somebody says, I don't want your culture types, we say, that's fine, we're going to sell you that anyways, and you're never going to know it, and you're going to be really happy when you get it.
Right. Well, so the magic, as you know, of selling is you sell them what they think they want, and then you give them what they need, right? So we get called, people call us, it's for retention issues. We can't keep people, we don't know what's happening. It's for rising star leaders that they want to have some more training, but there's not really a good fit for them. There's accountability challenges. There's, they've had a big reorg and everything's falling apart and they don't have any bandwidth or time to solve those problems internally. So it's a lot of times it's those are the pain points that people call us for. And then the culture type thing for us, the difference about culture type that's cool is that we actually scatter plot everybody on the same graph, so we can see that Leah is much more chaos tolerant than Melanie is, for example. And then what does that mean as far as them getting along and them fighting? And that's really kind of a gateway drug, actually. A lot of times we'll culture type a group for free and then show them we can immediately start explaining the dynamics of their business, and they, within minutes, they'll say, we've heard, you have a video camera in our conference room? Or have you been talking to people?
Someone already told you about the whiteboards, didn't they?
Yeah.
I said something about, the fixer really likes to get up and whiteboard, and the guy's like, did somebody already tell you about all my whiteboards? I'm like, no, I don't know about your whiteboards.
People. And so we've done it enough now that we can almost automatically start diagnosing root cause problems for people without even meeting anybody. And so it's such a powerful tool that it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of our gateway drug, really. Because then we culture type somebody's team and they're like, oh my God. And then we can then help them fix what those root cause problems are. Oh, there's not questions.
Hi, Jared Phillips with AJ Phillips Real Estate Solutions. My business partner Aaron and I, we don't have any employees. I was curious if you guys maybe work with statistics and kind of maybe what our buyer's market might be or where it's going. Do you guys look into that and maybe have details with maybe futures type markets and stuff like that?
We don't do predictive stuff. Our basic assumption is that we have to understand the individuals before we can really understand the group. And so because the buyer group is changing all the time, I'm not sure that our stuff would really serve that. What do you think?
I mean, now without a lot of back-end work,
Yeah.
my financial analyst degree, I could certainly sit down with you and we could pour over some numbers and I could
she's a
provide you
spreadsheet
some incredible statistics. But the funny thing about statistics is generally they're wrong. So that's why I think, our stuff, we focus on that engagement with that person at that time so that you have an opportunity to understand what their buying decision is right now or how they're processing the information you're putting in front of them. So I suppose at some point, if you wanted to do all the back-end work on the buyer's group, then you could maybe make some assessments, or draw some lines to decide some stuff, but we don't do that, not right now.
I think one of the fun parts is that we could probably give you some tips and things to look for, because when people are going through big changes like losing a house, moving, which might create a house buying opportunity, those people are going to be reacting much differently than a person who, we're just ready to move on and try and figure out, we're having another kid and we've been thinking about buying a house for a while. They're in two totally different mindsets and mental states, which I'm sure you know. But how you can read those people and ask a few questions and get a sense of where they're at kind of in that change transition, and because there's certain parts in a change where you're just basically freaking out and you don't process data very well, you don't process information, you can't make decisions very well, you're thinking about what you used to have and not what's coming up next and all of that stuff. And so if you understand where they are in that transition, then that might actually help you serve them better, or know that, hey, they're not going to be able to digest this 7-page summary we're sending them, so I'm just going to send them the 3 pictures and that's all they need, or whatever. So there might be a use for our stuff because we like to work with lawyers who are dealing with like deaths and people in stressful situations. I spoke to a hospital group last week about that very thing. Like, listen, you guys are dealing, like, if you get a breast cancer diagnosis, they always tell you, bring someone with you or bring a recorder to listen to the details, because you're freaking out. You can't process the data. So you're going through that change transition. And so it's the same thing with real estate, with any kind of, if you're working with any people in major transitions, whether you're a lawyer, a real estate agent, all those things, understanding this could be really insightful for you, I think.
That is also in the book, in the second section.
And, the other thing I was going to say is if you start getting a feel for, so we have 4 different types, so if we throw out words, so we have fixers, stabilizers, independents, and organizers. And actually what is interesting is we focus on fixers, because fixers are people that want to make things better for their team.
We sell to fixers.
We sell to fixers, right? So that's who we market to. So all of our marketing is about helping things get better and for the good of your team and that kind of language. Now, it might be that if you guys want to work with people who are executives, you might have different languages based on who those people are. So if you start kind of categorizing all of your clients and you start showing up that, oh my gosh, people that actually buy from us are all organizers, then that's who then you can market to and actually have a more successful marketing. Okay. So that's another thing that's really helped us figure out how to build that, the marketing that you do, which is so expensive and feels like it never brings any results. Hopefully this would help you pinpoint who you're actually selling to. So that's helped us a lot.
Now you guys have questions. You are not always this quiet.
We do have a weird business, I know.
Would it help if I took off my shoes?
Why would that help?
Because maybe they're scared of my shoes.
They're
pretty intimidating.
They're pointing in red. Well, one other thing I'll share is that what's really cool is we actually have a nationwide company, but we are headquartered out of Spearfish. And the way we get to do that is we're having people get certified all over, and we have people in our group from North Carolina, Georgia, San Francisco, all of New York, all around. And they are helping us scale with our consultants. But we do a lot of stuff by video. And so that allowed, like this 8-week program, we have people from literally, oh, I forgot to make the map. I gotta make the map. We're making a map of all of our people and put it, so we have put on our new webpage. But, so we have people from all over. And we can do that because of video. And we travel a lot, frankly. But it's awesome to come home to Spearfish to the Black Hills and have it here on the weekends. And I was telling somebody, you know, we're 2 hours behind the East Coast. So about 2 o'clock on a Friday, my email starts going down and not getting any new emails. And then really we don't have any emails through, you know, Sunday night. And it's amazing. I mean, I worked in jobs where you got a 2 a.m. email and sometimes you got to reply because of that level of that sort of hourly commitment. So it's really pretty awesome that we're able to work from here. We both have young families, and so this is a place where we want them to grow up. So it's pretty awesome.
Monique Stevens with South Michigan State University. How do you manage your travel and your schedule and your lifestyle with your young families?
With the calendar on my phone, with the help of a lot of family, my amazing boyfriend, my really great business partner. We have a saying, it's all life. So, you know, there's been a lot of attention paid in the last, I would say, decade or so to work-life balance. Particularly, I think when females came into the workplace, you're still primarily responsible for the household and all the daily things that have to happen with kids and cleaning toilets and making dinner and what have you. And you're also trying to, you know, foster this career. And so, you know, the business world started to focus a lot on work-life balance. And, well, I don't know, I kind of think that that sort of puts this negative image on your career, whether you're a man or a woman. It's like, oh, well, you know, I got to figure out how to put my life in, but I'm still kind of guilty. You have like this sense of guilt about wanting to grow your career. And so Rachel and I both said, you know, I said, I love to work. I love, and especially now, you know, I always kind of loved what I did, but now I really love, this is my one passion, besides my kids and running. And so we have a concept in our business, and we share it, of course, with everyone. If you're not in our closed Facebook group, you should be. It's IX Ambassadors, so ask to join that. And then we do a live every Wednesday and have all kinds of information on there, articles we've written and podcasts we've been on. But anyway, we have It's All Life. So there is no work-life balance. It's balancing your life and what feels good. If it feels good to work on a Saturday afternoon because your kids are taking a nap, and then because you know you're going to be, you know, whatever, free for the next couple of days on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then you're out of town, you know, figure out what that feels like. And that's our life. That's not everybody's life. I mean, a lot of you probably have a business where you run a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 type of thing. But it really, the concept that we have created for our lives and our business, and we share with our clients, is about enjoying all parts of your life. And that really, you know, there's two kinds of, so here's my leadership nerdiness. There's two kinds of stress. There's eustress and distress. And so it's really not, it's about limiting the distress in your life. Because eustress is good for you. So what creates eustress for you? Balanced amount of time with your kids, time with your family, time with your friends, drinks with your cronies on Friday afternoons, work, you know, and it's different for all of us. And kind of depending on what your culture type is too. Maybe, you know, we have the team-driven side and the self-driven side. And so team-driven people really are energized by being around other people. And then the self-driven side are like, oh my God, if you put one more human in the room with me, I might vomit. I like all you people. You know, I'm really heavily medicated right now. I'm just kidding.
So she's at least counting.
Yeah. So it's really about, it's all life. And what does your life feel like when it's being done well? And knowing that for yourself, you know, there's tons of recipes about how many hours you should spend at home and how many times you should physically touch your kids a day. And I think Melanie could probably tell you a lot about what the actual statistics are for that. For us, it's about balancing what feels right. And I think, too, it's important to have really open communication with the people in your life. So if Rachel's been traveling a lot, we haven't seen each other, and I'm like, dude, sit down, we have to talk. I want to see your eyeballs, you're kind of driving me crazy right now. Or I'm super stressed out.
We had that talk on Monday.
We did.
It's very recent, very top of mind.
Yeah, you know, or if we actually were in San Francisco, well, I guess it was about a year ago, and I had been, let's see, where did I go? I went to Omaha, and then, so I had been on the road. The San Francisco stop was on the back end of my travel, and I had been training in Omaha. We got to San Francisco, the smog was ridiculous, I lost my voice, I felt like crap. I told Rachel, I was like, you know what, I don't need to be here for this, you can handle this yourself. I'm catching an early flight out and I'm going home. And she's like, yeah, I think you should, because that seems normal. So I think, you know, it's really about figuring out what feels good for you.
Yeah, from my perspective, I'm divorced, and my ex is in Spearfish, and so we share custody. And so whenever Alex, my daughter, is with her dad, then I travel. So that's kind of how I balance it, and that way when she's with us, I'm home. And that works out really great. We don't travel a huge amount. I would say I travel about 12 weeks a year maybe, once a week, once a month, a little more than that, depends on how busy we get. And then a lot of times we will integrate multiple stops into one trip. So Monday, Tuesday, New York, you know, Thursday, Friday in Atlanta, and then we come home. So that way we don't have to take individual trips out. So we try to compress the travel as much as we can. And there's no matter how much video we do, there's no replacement for hanging out with people and having a cocktail or a cup of coffee and really connecting with people. So the travel is something that we've had to embrace. But honestly, I've been traveling since I was literally the first summer after I graduated college. I was sent on my first work trip. So I've traveled all my entire career. So for me, traveling is, if I don't travel, I get a little twitchy. You don't want to be around. Like, I start thinking about other crazy things I should do. So I like skydiving or something crazy. I'm like, I just need to get on a plane and go somewhere before I can do something crazy.
And not jump out of it.
I don't want to do that. I'm too old for that. We always say that being an entrepreneur is the ultimate adrenaline sport. So we don't need any more excitement in our lives. All right, other questions? There's so many things to ask for. What's the one thing we want?
Well, you ask yours. This is a twofer. They get two of us, we get two asks.
Well, it's really interesting. Even though we're always busy, we're always looking to grow. So this is a big part for us. I came out of Landsat, which is literally the longest running, biggest, most important gold standard satellite mission in the world. And it's really hard for me to feel like I'm having a big enough impact on the world now, because I left that program and now we're building our company. So I tell you, it's like this, I'm a fixer, which means I want to help people. So we are always looking to grow all the time. And so I guess my ask would be, that's a strategic ask. My ask would be that if you know organizations going through transition, or considering acquiring, or really the transition piece is key, because then people are interested in bringing in experts to help them through that transition, because most companies just are like, okay, it's going to be 2 years, it's going to suck, and we're just going to get over it. But companies are really giving up the most important part of that transition, because there's a time in your company's transition where we call it the innovation phase, where your people are the most creative, the most excited, the most engaged they'll ever be, and most leaders just gut that out and push through it as fast as they can, and they miss their biggest opportunity. So if you're going to make a change to your company anyway, take a pause and say, how can this actually help our company, help our people become more a stronger, high-performing team? So if you know companies are going through transition, small or large, our biggest client is a $500 million client. We're talking with a very, very big company for about a year about working with them, a big holding company. And then we work with Black Hill Stock Show. So we work all across the gamut. So we would really appreciate a connection with people that are going through big transitions or that need leadership or people support, problem-solving support. And what really helps us is to not say, hey, Leah said to call you, and so who do I talk to? What really helps us is if Leah emails Bill at blah blah company and says, hey Bill, meet Rachel, they're doing some really cool stuff with people. Because that makes sure that Bill knows that Leah actually knows us, and I'm just not saying that, oh, Leah's my best friend. You didn't know? Like, we're besties. So, because that happens a lot. And so for us, it's that personal connection into organizations that really gets us new clients, and it's very valuable. So that would be a great answer.
In order to really continue to scale and get all of our information out to the world, we need to sell more copies of the book. And so buy a copy of the book. Buy a copy of the book for your spouse.
That's a $15 ask. That's a
Buy a copy for your kid and your dog and whoever you want. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and in Kindle version on Amazon and on Audible and on iTunes. So buy the book and then put a review about it out in the world, whether it's on Amazon or on Facebook or wherever it is. That helps build credibility, and so that we can impact more people and make more of a difference in the world of business.
Okay, well, let's give it up for Meg and Rachel.